Who's on first?
Right, exactly. All right, guys, I have this recording. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for taking time out of your Monday night. We have a very special guest, Doug Barlow. It's funny that he's actually one of the things I thought about. Okay, so Doug was one of the first people that I met when I joined this whole Amazing Juice Plus company um, just over 5 years ago, and he was always smiling. He was always enthusiastic. And what was cool is that he was one of the first people that I realized that like sideline buddies in this business don't compete with one another. They help one another. And then I realized where he excelled was talking about the business. They used to have the Monday night calls, and I would call in every single Monday night and listen to Doug talk about the business. And I finally realized the power of like bringing people on the calls and listening to people who have gone before us, because his passion is absolutely, and he says that compressing a lifetime worth of work in 3 to 5 years, but it's hard work. And but the whole time I can tell he's been enthusiastic about it. But what I've found over the years of getting to know him and because of Facebook is one of the coolest things that I see is that he's in the car with his daughters. And he is right now. Like I see that he's teaching his oldest daughter to how to drive. And he's able to be there for all those times with his family that I think a lot of us missed out on as children. And maybe some of you who are missing out as parents right now. So listen up. He has some amazing things to share. And he also has like this dream life of skiing and sailing. So I kind of have that on my bucket list because of Doug. So Doug, thank you so much for being on. We are so excited to hear your story and just any tips that you can share with us.
Sure. Well, because you mentioned being with Nira right now, she's hoovering a T30 friendly meal. That's probably her, third or fourth or fifth meal today. But I'm just the best thing that I'll share that this business has given to me is the time with my children. As Christy said, and I'll share a little bit of my background, but when I first heard about what you could do with this business in terms of compressing a lifetime's worth of work into a couple of years worth of effort, I realized, okay, well, do the math. If you're gonna, wherever you are in your employment, timeline or your career timeline, how many hours a week do you put in, and how many more weeks, let's say 48 to 50 weeks a year if you're working, and for how many more years are you going to have to do that until you retire? And I think in today's world, for the average employee, retirement is really just a pipe dream now, because as the expense of life keeps increasing, pay is not commensurate to keep up with the cost of living in terms of how you really want to live it. So that's what I did. And the best part about getting the work over with for me was that I got to have, I have 3 daughters, and I got to spend time with them from the day they were born, basically until now. I chose to be the activity director. I didn't really want to have to work any more than I had to. And I appreciate kind of, being the bum next door on some level, because I don't, I get to call my own shots. I run my own schedule. And for me, that's my dad worked his whole life growing up. I didn't really know my dad. And my mom was sort of the activity director. And so I realized, hey, I want to know what it's like to be a parent and kind of deal with kids and all the good that brings and all the challenges that brings as well. And so that's been the best thing. But I'll backtrack a little bit and just kind of share how did I get to the Juice Plus conversation. And I worked on ships as an engineer. I went to the Merchant Marine Academy, and the thing that I was dreamed about when I was when I decided, hey, I'm going to go be a maritime engineer, was that you only had to work 6 months of the year and you could make really good money as an engineer. And so let's see, I graduated in '83, and I basically worked in the maritime industry for 10 years. And I have to say, I only worked 6 months of the year. I had 6 months to goof off, and I made plenty of money so that I could save a little bit. I could have lots of fun. And then when I got to about a third of my bank account or my pay stub, then it was like time to think about going back to work. And all that was good until the Exxon Valdez ran aground. And then the romance of going to sea basically evaporated overnight for me. And I realized I do not want to grow old in this industry. I need to get out. So I don't know that many people have this issue, but I was looking at the reality of leaving the shipping world. I was going to take a huge cut in pay. And more importantly, I was going to lose out on all this free time. And, you know, I would have been like a regular engineer, had a 9 to 5. And that just wasn't very inspiring. And so I was very grateful that my friend kind of said, hey, I know when you're not on the ship and you're, you know, have that free time. I spend a lot of time in the mountains, you know, sailing around the world. And she said, you might be interested in this Juice Plus stuff. And so I went home with some that night, and I couldn't help but dream about George Jetson, you know, food in a capsule. And I called my friend up 3 days later and I said, doesn't everybody need this Juice Plus stuff? I mean, who really gets enough fruit and veg in their daily diet? And can you make money, you know, telling other people, like you told me, can I tell my friends about it and can I make money? Because I was in this transition. And long story short, she said, I don't know, but why don't you come to a presentation and you can learn more, you know, you can get all your questions answered. So I'm a big fan of going to events. If you're kind of new to the business or you're looking at this, I can't say enough about figure out why you're going to either pour your heart and soul into this and have this truly become something that you can leverage in terms of your lifestyle, or figure out that, you know, there's more important things that I'd rather do in my life. And so events really are a turning point where you get educated and you see a much bigger picture than, you know, not to take anything away from the fun that Christy and Amy provide for you guys and being on a Zoom call on a Monday night, but events provide a much bigger picture than I can provide over the phone. And at that event, several things occurred for me. One, I heard about an opportunity that I believed in, because I mean, I was like, how could fruit and veg in a capsule not make a difference in your life? I didn't really have a huge aha health result over it, but my mom had told me that, you know, fruit and veg was important my whole life, and I realized nobody gets enough. And as an amateur athlete my whole life, I thought, wow, fruit and veg in a capsule, this is a no-brainer. So they talked about you could earn what you were worth. And even though I did well as an engineer, and I don't know how many of you feel that way about your job, you ever wish that you could maybe earn an extra 30 or 50% more for what you're doing? That's how I always felt. I never got enough acknowledgement. They talked about the fact that if you want to, you can use this business model to compress a lifetime's worth of work into a couple years worth of effort. And here again, you know, do the math for your current, you know, trading hours for dollars proposition. And then the final thing was they said, you can do it on your terms. And I thought, wow, you know, I don't have to cut my hair. I don't have to wear socks. I can wear a suit if I have to, but if I don't have to, I can, you know, wake up and make calls in my PJs, you know, maybe not even in my PJs. But I just kind of thought, wow, this is just it was just such a breath of fresh air. It was like a way to make a living that I was totally unfamiliar with. And it all revolved around the fact that, wow, I can help people get healthy with fruit and veg in a capsule. Am I still here? I guess I'm here. Okay. My screen just blacked out, Christy, so you are my guide. Am I still? I guess I'm.
You're still
okay,
good.
okay, great. So that's kind of what got me started. I was curious enough. I was curious enough to want to know more, and when I went to find out more, I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. So I went to that first event. A couple months later, someone said, hey, well, you know, I know you've been to a local event, but you should go to a regional training. There's some people that have been very successful in the business. And if you want to be successful in this business, here's something you can write down. Hang out with the successful people. You know, don't listen to your, you know, broke friend or your pert friend who thinks that doesn't work or whatever. You know, hang around with the people who are actually like fun, having fun and making a difference in the lives of others. And so we went to a regional training, and I kind of thought, and I'd never been to anything like this. So my eyes were like, I like my eyes were as big as saucers when I heard other people, especially I heard somebody else who was an engineer, who had left engineering, and they were training from the front of the room. And I was just like, I couldn't believe that this was actually happening. Like, it was the most fascinating information I'd ever heard. And I was just like a sponge to soak it up. And so I kind of thought, okay, I went to a local event, I went to a regional event, I'm good. I've got an education. I just need to do the work now. And then, so that was all like September. That was all in like September, the beginning of October. Well, 3 weeks later, at the end of October, was this big national conference. And they're like, oh, are you going to go to the conference? And I'm like, why do I need to go to a conference? I just went to a local event. I went to a regional training. I'm fueled up. I don't need to know anything else. And I'll never forget Mitra. She didn't think she had to go either. But then she figured out, well, I have to basically stay one step ahead of this guy. So one day she came home and she called me up and she says, hey, you know what? I've decided to go to this conference in New Orleans. And I was like, well, I don't have the money. I'm not going back to work. My paycheck for Juice Plus is only like $39.24 this month. Next month it'll be $137. But I just didn't think I could do it. And then she said it, she made a statement that, changed everything. She said, well, here's the deal. If I go to this conference and you don't, you'll never be able to keep pace with how fast I grow my business. That was all I needed to hear to say, okay, what do I need to do to get to the big conference? And one of the things that I'll say about events is that, it does. It costs money. You have to schedule your time. You have to manage your work. You have to manage your children. You have to manage your family. You have to manage other obligations so that you can get some free time off to go find out about an opportunity that I guarantee you is going to crush. No matter how good your job is right now, there's nothing like working for yourself with an opportunity where you can leverage your knowledge through sharing it with other people. And what I mean by that is, would you rather have 100% of your own effort, or would you rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts, knowing in the end it's still 100%? And I can't say enough about understanding, becoming a student of the business. I mean, if you're in the business, for the most part, it's because you believe in, whether it's Juice Plus or the Transform 30 or Shred 10 or whatever you're doing to share health and well-being with people. That's a foregone conclusion that it already works. There's all this research behind it. So my experience over the last 23 years in September, is helping people to understand that what you really have to do is become a student of the industry. I mean, let's face it, if you have a job now, or if you have some professional career, you spend a lot of time and energy getting educated, training, continuing education, schooling yourself on how to be better at that position that you're in. And so, how many people go to school for network marketing? How many people know what it really takes to be a network marketer? It doesn't take a lot to get educated, but once you learn the few basics, you have to kind of put them into practice on a consistent basis, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, just like punching the time clock at your job, except down the road, whether it's a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, you decide what the time frame is. What would it be like to be earning the same amount of money but not have to go to work? And Christy said, oh, it's hard work. Well, life is hard work. I mean, you have to get educated, get a job. You have to. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with getting older and having a family. But here's the difference: when you have a job, making a living, is okay, but going through the same motions and the same challenges to make a fortune for yourself. And when I say fortune, that's your definition. The way we measure our success is a paycheck, but it's not about the money. It's just like, if you make a little bit of money in your commission check, that means that you've helped a few people. If you make a good part-time income, that means you've done fairly well in building a community of like-minded people where you've had an influence in those people. And if you kind of make what I call gangster money, that means that you've invested enough time and energy and built a team of like-minded people who have similar values and vibrate at a similar frequency. You've built a community of people that has helped thousands of people. And so your paycheck is really just a reflection of how many people you've helped. It's not about the fast car you drive or the big house or the boat or whatnot. It's just a way we measure how effective have you really been at sharing something that you believe in to make a difference in others. So I'm going to just stop there, and I don't know if you have any questions, but I'll go on, but I'd rather just kind of stop and just kind of ask if people have any questions, and I can go on forever, but that's not my point here tonight. I'll kind of try and keep it to 30 minutes or whatever you guys typically do, and I'm happy to stay on as long as you need me to kind of help you figure out what is your next step to get you to the next level of what you consider success for yourself. Where's my guide? Oh.
We'll definitely open it up to questions. I think, Christy and I were talking about this earlier, Doug, about kind of some things that if you could change anything in your career with the Juice Plus company, is there anything that you would change, that you would do differently?
Well, so, I mean, so here's the thing. I was not the best network marketer. I was basically Mach 2 with my hair on fire. I mean, I was not like calm, cool, collected. I was kind of like, I had verbal diarrhea when it came to Juice Plus. I did everything wrong based on how we educate people about how to be a professional network marketer today. So, but I made up for in numbers what I lacked in skill. So when I look back now, it's like, I know so much more now about how to like ask good questions. Don't be so blabbermouthy about what you have. Find out what's not working in someone else's life. And from that perspective, when people say, "Oh, what do you do?" It's like, well, I kind of help people improve the quality of their lifestyle. And people will kind of look at you like, well, that's my line. I mean, I know with Jeff and some of my friends' organizations, Jeff and Tony in Colorado, they're like, what do I do? Oh, I'm a health food agent. I help connect people to healthier ways of living and dietary excellence or whatever. But for me, I'm like, I help people improve the quality of their lifestyle. Oh, what's that? I said, well, if you were going to keep things simple, could you imagine that your lifestyle is made up of only 3 things? It's made up of your health, it's made up of your free time, and it's made up of your cash flow, so that if you have your health and free time, you have disposable income to do the fun things that you want to do. So I've learned over the years to ask more questions and find out, to build a relationship. And the one thing, if I knew better, I worked on ships as an engineer. And so, the average ship, there was 20 people on a ship. And most of the time, they weren't people that I was like, I would choose to be with. So not a huge community of people there. And then when I wasn't on the ship, I spent a lot of time in the mountains, not a lot of people there either. So I actually did a lot of shows. I would go to places where I could meet people that I wouldn't otherwise have access to. Today we have social media, but shows, if you're a person-to-person type of person, shows or expos, it's one way to spend an afternoon and talk to people and collect leads. And I had 2 boxes of leads. And the one thing that I wish I would have done better was create a database of all those people I talked to. I mean, there must have been thousands of people in these shoe boxes. And when I got my business up and running, and the one thing, people say, "Oh, I'm not a salesperson." Well, I usually, when people say, "Oh, I'm not a salesperson," I said, "Oh, are you trying to sell me on that idea?" I'm not a salesperson. "Oh, it sounds like you're trying to sell me that you're not a certain type of person." And, we're all salespeople. I mean, you don't have to own it like, a product, but we're always trying to either enroll people in what we're doing or what we're not doing. So the reason I say that is because if you can get 2,000 people to say no to you, down the road, those 2,000 people are going to be the next person that says yes. And that's kind of a sales strategy, but that's the reality of how life is. You have a way to offer people better health options. You have a way to, and what do people really want in life? They want to have good health, they want to have free time, and they want to have a little bit more money. And that's really what we offer people. So, every 6 months, I think it's safe to say, somebody in that list of 2,000 people, something happens where they don't have their health, they don't have as much free time, or they'd love to have a little extra income. So one of the things that I realized I wish I had done was just better manage that database, because I did the work, I did the effort, and if I'd have been smart enough to put all those people in a database and somehow just keep in touch with them, especially nowadays, but you can do that instantaneously today. You kind of have social media, but it's just basically if someone says no, that just means not right now. I don't KNOW. Maybe they don't know enough, or maybe no just means not now. Because the reality is, I'll share a story today. There's a skater mom who I've talked to about Juice Plus. I thought she was going to get she and her kids on it because she admits her kids don't eat healthy. She's extremely overweight, and she kind of laughed. She said, "Well, I know I'm fat, but but I'm not sick." And I don't like to throw it in people's face, but and I'm thinking to myself, well, you're not sick yet. And sure enough, today, I hadn't seen her in a couple months. She's been in the hospital. Something is drastically wrong with her gastrointestinal system, and she can't eat anything. She throws up everything. So she's drinking water. Now, this lady, she got close to Juice Plus, but she's not interested. And so today I didn't pounce all over and say, oh, you should have taken up my advice. I just listened. I said, I'm sorry to hear that you're not well. It sounds like your stomach's messed up, and if you can, you should check out Mitra's talk. She's doing a talk for the ice skating community this weekend. Now, she was making up all kinds of excuses. So on some level, she's never going to say yes. But it's kind of things like that where you just never know where people are going. So keeping track of people, and just because they say no doesn't mean not now. And the other thing, if people say no, it's kind of like, well, hey, I get that maybe this isn't for you right now, but you must know other people in your life where health or free time or cash flow is more of a kind of a consideration. Might you be able to kind of, introduce me to anyone in your life where maybe they'd like to improve their relationship to those one of those three areas, or all three. So, that, kind of long drawn out thing, but I wish I'd have kept better records of all the people that I did talk to, just in terms of building relationships. Long-term relationships are really what are most important. And on some level, I've had a tremendous amount of success building amazing relationships. I mean, when I look at, I kind of think, oh, wow, like I didn't realize I had that impact on Christy Nix when I first met her, even though she was coming to events. I mean, when I see Amy, she gets a big hug. I want to know about her family. And those relationships that I've developed through the people who initially said yes and were more excited than not, that's been the best part of this business. So, and I'll just share, why do I keep doing it? 23 years later, what's so significant about what we do is that there's never been more people in our society who want what we have to offer. They may not be willing to do the work, but there's never been more people that are open to at least a conversation where, not everyone's going to say yes, but there's plenty of people out there looking for a better way to spend more time with their kids, have their husband be at home more, make a little extra money without having to take a second job. And if you're just willing to ask questions of people and not be attached to the result and kind of keep track, hey, I get that maybe not right now, but would it be okay if I checked back with you in 6 months to kind of let you know where I'm at and make sure that you're as happy as you can be with the life that you want to live? Would that be okay? Great. I look forward to catching up then. So those are some of the things, is that, keeping track of people and figure out how can you build a relationship with this person, even if they're not a yes to Juice Plus or Transform 30 right now.
That's really helpful. I have a question, but I want to give everyone else an opportunity first.
And I can maybe help people. How many people are not where they really want to be in this business? I'll encourage you to ask the question of like, what do I need to do? I'm here and I need to get there. What would be your advice? Those are kind of easy questions that don't require too much, but the health product is usually a foregone conclusion. It's usually helping people figure out How can I build my team faster? How do I talk to more people? Things like that. Oh, hey, can you hang on 1 second? I've found somebody's phone and I got to take this call. Hang on.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm on a conference call right now for work. Can you call me back in like 25 minutes or so? Yeah. I just saw the phone ringing, but I'm on a business call, and I was hoping that someone would call. But I've got your brother's phone. Can you call me back in like 20 minutes or so? I don't have a number, and I can't unlock the phone. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. Questions, comments? Oh, hey, there's a man I know.
How's it going? Good to see you, Doug. Hey, I do have a quick question. Maybe that would be good for the group. So, in terms of like making the business work, what were there any like standout aha moments where you're like, okay, this is how I do it, and like how did that sort of play out for you?
Well, it's in the end, it's a numbers game. So, I like the analogy of baseball. The guys that bat like 300%, that means they only hit the ball every 3 times out of 10 that it's thrown. So every 7 times the ball's thrown, they miss it. And if you can hit the ball 3 times out of 10, even though you miss it 7 out of 10, those guys make the biggest money in the entire baseball world. So I just kind of, I'm a big fan of putting numbers to your advantage. One of the things that people will say is, oh, well, I talked to so-and-so and they're not interested. And they spend too much time focusing on too few people that aren't going to do what they said they're going to do, or they're not going to like call you back, or they're not going to give you the answer that you're looking for. So that's why I typically did shows, because I kind of went through my warm market. And then I was kind of like, okay, now what am I going to do to find new people to talk to, while the people that have already talked to are trying to sort out, are they in, are they out, maybe next month, maybe next year, maybe never. So one of the biggest aha moments that I had is make numbers work to your advantage. And whether like yesterday I got a coffee, the guy says, oh, wow, I mean, it's kind of funny. He says, oh, wow, like you look like you have great skin, and then he reads my visor. He says, must be that Juice Plus stuff that you take, huh? And he didn't know what Juice Plus was, but he was a juicer, and he kind of knew that juicing was healthy for you. And so I just, whenever I'm out and about, I always create reasons for people to kind of comment on what is that Juice Plus stuff, or what's Transform 30. So, just even though I'm in my kids' world, I'm always looking to make numbers work to my advantage. I'm always looking for ways so that I can talk to more people, knowing that, the more people I talk to, the more no's you get, the sooner off you're going to get a yes. And if you're not happy with the closing ratio or the return on your investment, then you have to look at like, well, what can I do that's a little bit better? So one of the things that I'm a big fan of is that make sure that you have a relationship with your upline or your sponsor, or you find a buddy, somebody that you can kind of talk to about, well, I did XYZ and I didn't get the result I was looking for. And someone can kind of say, well, tell me how the conversation went, and you can kind of bounce things back and forth. Or the other thing about having a buddy is role playing, so that you can practice on people that don't count, and you can get better, so that when you do talk to people that do count, i.e. new people, that you actually have honed your skill. And it's kind of like, it's like anything in life. The more you do it, the better you get. And role playing, especially with new people, don't go out and kind of spend your amateur abilities of sharing Juice Plus. Don't share that. Don't, until you get a little confidence and some skill, don't talk to your best prospects until you've kind of like gotten a little bit of training or some practice on how to kind of, how to ask better questions, how to present options, how to not give away the solution too early. And the best way to do that is to kind of like, work with your sponsor, your upline, a sideline buddy, your partner, and role play. Practice like scenarios that come up so that it's not, sometimes it's easy. Oh yeah, that sounds great. Sign me up. Well, what about your best friend who's a skeptic? Can you play that part of the role so that you have to actually, think fast on your feet? Because in the end, it's really about like when you do open your mouth, what comes out. And having said that, I'm also, the other side of that equation is you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. There's just following up until you get a good yes or a good no. And you can actually just say, hey, I get that you're busy with what you're doing. I'm busy what I'm doing. But at some point, you gave me your information to kind of have a further conversation or get more information about this thing that we talked about last week or at the coffee shop or whatever. Like this guy at the coffee shop, I said, hey, and just follow up till you get a good yes or a good no, or you realize, hey, I had no connection to that person. Maybe they just gave me their phone number to be polite. Maybe they're not interested. But this guy happens to said, hey, yeah, I'm juicing and I could lose 30 pounds or more. So does that answer your question in terms of like an aha moment? Make numbers work to your advantage and don't stop following up until you get a good yes or a good no, or you just decide, hey, you know what? That person doesn't have a sphere of influence, that I'm interested in anyway. And I'm always more interested in finding a team member that can introduce me to their warm market versus just a customer.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, because I think a common theme that I hear is that people get frustrated of going after the same people over and over again. They're like, man, I've been working on this person for so long, and I just can't get it. And it's like, okay, I mean, that makes sense. You got to get out and just, get the firm yes or no, go for no, and get the numbers working to your favor. So, no, I appreciate that. I think that's good.
Say another little cliche is say less to more people.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan.
And that's why I love the texting blitz.
Yeah.
Send 10 texts a day. Just like, hey, I'm doing this 30-day, this Transform 30 thing for the next 30 days. Or I'm doing a 10-day shred. Or, hey, like, you know what? My goal for the year is to like look and feel better. Do you want to join me on this? My friend told me I had a program. Do you want to join me? So, send out texts like that. Well, what's the program? What do you got to do? Blah, blah, blah.
If nobody else has any questions, I've got another one, but I'll let somebody else ask a question first if anybody's got anything.
The person that asks the most questions wins the game.
I'm going to win by God. No, so, I mean, the deal, Doug, like this is definitely traditionally, like females win in this business. Like they do very, very well. I know you do a weekly, men's only call, or I'm sorry, monthly men's only call. What would you say, like is the key to driving more men into this business and into these products? Because it just, seems like a lot of skepticism comes from men. I mean, I was a pretty big skeptic at the beginning. And it took some time for me until like I really sort of felt the results myself, and I sort of like dove into the research myself. So what's been working for you on your men's calls?
Well, I mean, yeah, because maybe men don't, unless you're at the gym and you've got buddies or you've got like a healthy, fit community where you're competing or you're trying to get better, if that doesn't exist in your life, then I think you have a couple of doors you can go through. You can go through the business door, you can go through the health door, or you can go through the what's not working in your life door. What's really frustrating about, if you could change one thing in your life, what would it be? And so like while you have to believe in the product. We are a product driven company. This isn't just like, oh, hey, here's a business. This isn't a business of like selling lead pipe, where it's like, I'm not really attached to lead pipe and I don't really care, but I got to sell pipe to make money. This is like, no, this stuff changes your life. So, but I would talk to guys about, I would talk to them about the business. I was like, hey, so, whether they're strangers or people that it's like, hey, how's everything in your, can I ask you how's your professional life going? How's your work how's your relationship to work going? You've been at that for a while. Are they paying you what you're worth? Are you is there a chance for you to move up? Like, are you 100% happy with what you're doing in terms of trading hours for dollars, or, pursuing that career track? Because if you don't have the opportunity to talk to them about health, if you think that's like more, family health, nutrition, if you think that's more of a woman's world, then that's probably true for you. But in terms of like men, it's like, well, maybe you can talk about the business. You can say, well, I've kind of gotten educated about a different way to kind of, generate income in today's economy. And I'm fascinated by it. And I think that there's a lot of people that if they understood what it really was, they'd be much more inclined to kind of like realize, they'd be much more inclined to maybe admit that, well, it's not as great as I say it is over here. And yeah, I'd be interested in taking a look at other options. Now, having said that, you still have to kind of do the Juice Plus thing. So, but if you can talk to them about the business side of things, or share what you're doing, like, for you, have you retired from the armed forces now?
I've got till August 3rd, and that's my last day in the military.
Okay.
I'm retiring,
Yeah.
but that's my
So I mean, on some level, if I were you, the story would be like, hey, I'm changing careers. I'm leaving the military. I've got to find out like like my passion isn't the military anymore. I'm pursuing what it is, and I'm kind of like, I'm fascinated with this business model, and I'm looking for other people that might not be 100% satisfied and willing to kind of sit down and have a cup of coffee for 15 minutes and take a look at why tell me, I'd like your opinion of this. And if they say, well, that makes a lot of sense to me, then you still have to say, so here's the deal. The vehicle that we use is helping people get more fruit and vegetable in their diet. Would you agree that there's very few people on the planet who could honestly say, no, I get all the fruit and vegetable I need. I don't need any more fruits and veg. And then it's kind of like, hey, how about, so now that I've piqued your interest about your career or your income generating opportunities, do you have any health goals? Like, would you like to get faster in the gym, or lift more weight, or would you like to lose a little bit of weight, or do you have health issues? I mean, I think it's safe to say, once I got over 40, I didn't believe those people, but now I'm a believer. After 40, you start to realize, wow, it's just not as easy as it used to be. And, are you aware that nutrition, people don't really have a very solid understanding of nutrition? And I've got this program, we've got a vehicle that's like, it's like proven in science. We've got a skill set that we can teach people. And then we've got like a mindset where you can kind of like reprogram your brain for success. Which one of those three don't work? So that's what I would approach men on. And to add a little humor, because I like to make things fun, I always like to present guys with like, well, hey, look, if you had an opportunity to work with, attractive looking women who were very intelligent, that had an opportunity to generate a lot of income for you, would it be worth 5 minutes of your time? Like, would you like to build a harem of attractive women who were health conscious? They had a huge income earning potential, and would you like to have a team of those people working under you?
I would never do that with my group of closest friends that I know. I haven't tried that at all.
but I mean, with guys, it's kind of like, sometimes you gotta make it fun, or like break the ice, that's just, those are a couple ideas of just like, yeah, how do you get through to guys? And if you don't feel like you're the health and beauty queen or king or whatever, then I'd be like talking to people about like, hey, I'm trying to help people. I'm doing a survey. I'm trying to find out who of my friends are really financially secure, and who of my friends, wish that they either made a little bit more money or had a little bit more free time to spend some of the money that they're making.
No, that's really good. And back to your humor point, I mean, all you have to do is go to one conference to see that that's true.
I mean, if your friends are single, just say, hey, if you want to get hooked up with some really like attractive, fit women who can make a lot of money and help you do the same, come just check it out, you know. So, I mean, and you know, we used to, you know, I've done a lot of personal growth work too. It's like I didn't have all these skills. I had to learn how to become a better me. For me to get better at my business, I had to learn how to become a better me. And so I've taken a lot of classes, I've taken a lot of courses. And one of the things that one of our teachers said is that the best students are usually tricked. And wouldn't you agree, like some of the people that you know should take a look at what you're doing, or you know they have a huge sphere of influence and they'd really be they could really do well in this industry if they just put their ego aside and took the time to take a look at this. You have to figure out how to trick those people into kind of getting the information so that they didn't know that you were pitching them your deal. You know, so you know, I mean, how did Joy Kelly get into this business? Mitra asked her if she wanted to drive her Saab to Bend, Oregon for a weekend and teach aerobics. And Joy was a sucker for like getting in front of people, showing them how to get healthy, and Mitra was offering her an opportunity to drive her brand new Saab while Joy was driving around some like total beater jalopy, you know? And Joy wouldn't come to a meeting in her own town, but she would drive 6 hours to Bend, Oregon to find out, like, why have I been, like, avoiding you for the last 9 months?
That's awesome.
She was tricked.
Okay, anybody else have questions? Because I'll keep going if he's willing to answer them. If nobody else, but somebody's got to have questions.
Keep going, Patton.
Well, Cassie, you could take over.
I know. Normally, I have all the questions, and I'm just soaking it all in. I'm taking it all in.
Okay, so let's say that I'm a new distributor. Like, what would you say is the first step for a new distributor? Or what are the first 3 steps even? You know, like, but what in your mind does a new distributor have to do to start being successful from day one?
Well, there's 3 things. And you don't have to be an expert in them, but you have to kind of start building your belief instantly. So the biggest thing for most people is belief in the product. So you have to have belief in the product. So I'm kind of like, you know, I want to know, why are you interested in what I'm doing? What's so wrong with the way your life, you know? So I ask a lot of questions. Why isn't your job? Why can't you make more money at your job or whatever? So you have to build belief. So is it belief in the product? Is it belief that they can share this with their friends and have their friends see it as value? Is the company real? Like, belief in the product, belief in the company, belief in yourself. So you have to kind of figure out which one of those need the most attention. And initially it's like people want to know, well, I got to know what I'm talking about. So it's kind of like, here, I'm going to give you a bunch of videos that talk about Juice Plus. You don't have to become an expert, but get yourself educated about what you're sharing. And so, like, whether it's, I just basically send people to YouTube and I say, hey, spend an hour watching a few videos. And if you want me to recommend a few videos, you tell me what your interest is and I'll recommend a few videos. And the other thing that I want you to watch, guaranteed, because you want to share this with people, is I want you to start understanding the business immediately. So I'll send them the little, Canadian, illustration about the business. Or maybe if I know who they are, I'll say, hey, what you really need to do is you need to watch like one of Jake Kelly's, little YouTube clips of, 20 minutes or something on how the business works. Like, do you know what your goal is? So that's kind of one, I kind of try and break it up. Hey, like, if you want to do this, I don't want you to waste your time and flounder, and I don't want to waste my time either. So here's what we're going to do. In the next, as quickly as possible, we need to schedule 3 times that we're going to get together. And the first one, here's some homework for you to do. The second one, so you get some belief built up. The second one, we're going to get you all registered so that you have your own Transform 30 website. You have your virtual office set up. You have a Juice Plus website, and most importantly, how to place an order. And then the third meeting, we're going to get together and we're going to kind of strategize what are the next 30 to 60 to 90 days going to look like for you so that you can earn all the bonus money, get to the highest commission level possible, and you're not going to and you won't be disappointed. You know what you have to do, the track you have to follow, what you have to do for yourself to achieve what it is that you want. And it's always back to hey, money is the measure of how successful you are. And for the average person, we help the average person make an extra $500 or $1,000 a month by building a community of like-minded people. And I'll kind of close this part off with, what is that customer base worth to you? If you want to guarantee yourself $500 a month sooner than later, build a client base that does 1,000 points a month. Build yourself a qualified business. While you're doing that, you're earning the bonus money. You're getting to, you're doing the HLP bonus. You're doing the VF, the fast track 2,000 plus bonus, and you're going to try, and that's setting you up to get to sales coordinator as quickly as possible, so that when you are a sales coordinator with that consumer base of customers, I'll say 15 to 20 households who are eating Juice Plus, eating the Complete, doing Transform 30, getting the gummies for their kids, eating some of the bars, they bought a Tower Garden, whatever it takes, but those 15 to 20 households as a sales coordinator, that means those people are doing 1,000 points a month minimum, and that's how you make $500 a month. And that means that you have kind of created a small community of people that are important to you or friends that you met, where you've helped build a community of 15 to 20 families that in your heart are going to live better lives because of the work that you've done for them and with them. Does that work?
No, that's awesome. And I keep hearing Christy all the time talking about how she wishes she knew earlier in the process that qualified business, how important those were. So yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's a good point.
And that's, come to the conference in St. Louis. It's, it's all going to be about qualified business. And why is it so important to have a customer base? Because that's the biggest impact. While I said I'm more interested in finding distributors, how do you find distributors? Well, the more customers you have eating Juice Plus, and I'm not a babysitter for customers. I'm terrible with customer follow-up. I just am. I'm the dentist doesn't call you to ask you if you brushed your teeth and flossed every day, does he? Why should I call you to make sure you're eating your Juice Plus and taking the shake and doing all those things that Transform 30 told you to do? But the more people I get that do kind of venture in, I'm kind of just like one of those people. It's if you put small rocks and medium-sized rocks and big rocks in the jar, and you shake the jar, you just keep shaking the jar, eventually the big rocks rise to the top. And with this program, the more people you have eating Juice Plus or doing Transform 30, the more likely the raving fans will show up, and you'll be able to identify those people. And it's not like I don't want to babysit people, but I don't. I'm I've given you all the information you need to just eat 6 capsules a day and do a shake, and and prove to yourself that eating gluten and dairy is not your best friend if you want to look and feel your best. And I just I'm more of Mitra would focus on people. I was like, what? I'm going to hit as many people as possible and see which ones come back to me as raving fans. So that's why it's important to build a customer base, and let's just face it, distributors, the first distributor you get, the more team members you have that are gung-ho about what you're doing, this business becomes there's nothing better than help, in the end, you are making money by making a difference in people's lives, but what could be better than making money with people that you really care about, knowing that you're making a difference for everybody that you get to share Juice Plus with?
So it's kind of the idea with that is weeding out the people that are just more of a hobbyist early on.
Yes.
Just weed them out quicker. Okay. Because I think something, it's hard. I struggle with because there is so much personal growth in this. And I think everybody needs to read GoPro before they even sign up. But how do you get someone to, here's a book, read a book, it's like hard enough to get somebody to pay the $50 to become a distributor when, you know.
Well, this is where asking the question of like, what's so wrong with your life now? Like, I'm going to ask you, like, you're going to have to give up, watching Seinfeld reruns 4 nights a week. You're not going to be able to say yes to every party that you've been saying yes to for the last 4 years that's gotten you into this financial mess. But I mean, the thing is, you have to have a relationship with people where you can actually have a heart-to-heart about what's real for you. Like, why is $500? Why do you need $500 extra a month? What is so important about those $500? And what are you willing to do? What do I need to do to get how much money do you need to make so that I can get your attention? And then what are you willing to do? Like, you already told me that your job, you hate your job, and you got passed over for the promotion. So it's kind of like you have to have a heart-to-heart with these people, even if you don't know them that well. If you ask enough questions and you get what their pain point is, what's making them suffer in their life, then you can say, well, hold on a second. Like, you're balking at $50, but you just told me that like you could really use an extra, $500 extra a month. Like, are you aware that like if you're going to kind of venture out into some other avenue to make your life better, that you're going to have to make some investments. You're going to have to make a compromise here and there. And in the end, it's kind of like, look, it's a short-term gig. In the next year or two, you can create more than you've ever thought on a part-time basis that will improve the quality of your life, so that in the long term, you can say yes to all these things that you don't have the money for or you don't have the time for. So that's where, like, you better off to kind of like blow people off by kind of coming at them with tough questions rather than like signing up a bunch of wishy-washy, wimpy distributors that are driving you absolutely nuts because they're not doing anything that they said they're going to do. They don't show up for meetings, they don't return your calls, and they're not doing the work that they said they were going to do to earn that $500. So you're better off to kind of like, I'm not trying to like, it's like, I can say that with you because you're already in the business, but you have to find some common ground where you can look people in the eye and say, don't bullshit me. Like, don't waste my time, and especially don't waste your time, but don't you dare waste my time by making false promises or saying things that you have no intention of doing. And the way to do that is upfront. If you're not going to read a book about GoPro, then why would you want that person in your business? If they're not going to like buy some of all the different products and use them consistently because they know that it's a healthy way to kind of fill in the gap when they aren't eating well. If they're not going to sample all the products and become a product of the product, why? How effective are they going to be at enrolling their friends if this is a good idea? So it's you have to do it in your personality, and if that's a weak point of yours, then that's something to work on, is to kind of like ask more questions. So if this was like a lie detector test and they said, okay, Cassie, tell me honestly, like, do you think this person is going to be worth the investment of your time and energy to help them make $500? If the answer is no, or on a scale of 1 to 10, it's 7 or below, you got to find 8s, 9s, and 10s. And if they're a 7 or a 6, you got to say, well, wait a minute. I thought you said that this was really important to me, but you're not giving me the 10 sign. You're kind of making me think that like you're not really sure what you want. And until you're sure what you want, and the fact that you what are you willing to do to make this happen? All you have to do is talk to people and return phone calls and use social media or whatever you're already doing that's not earning you a penny. You can just figure out how to use that to your advantage. So I mean, that's kind of a long answer, but yeah, I'm like, that is like when Patton asked me, like, what's the one thing I learned? Oh, bingo, that's what I learned. Don't spend too much time with the wrong people. And the way you figure that out is by ask questions to figure out, like, what are they really doing with their free time when they could be juice plussing instead of like just goofing off or going and partying or, just choosing to do something else. And that's why I say, like, know what this is about, Because if your heart's not really in this, then don't do it. There's so many other things you can do in life. And I don't want you to like waste a year or two deciding that this isn't really for you, because you're going to waste my time too. I want you to come to an event, get real, like compress a lifetimes of education in a weekend and find out what this is really about, so that you can either give me a good yes or a good no, but none of this maybe crap or like, well, I think I changed my mind now. And
I think that's
awesome.
And you still, I'm not an expert in that realm. I still have to, like, sometimes I get it wrong. People say they're going to do one thing and you buy into it. They sell you on the fact that they're going to do it, and then they don't. And you're like, wow, I thought for sure this was the person.
I think that's interesting, Doug. It goes back to those questions lead someone to their answer, right? Like that's what you're doing with the questions, is leading them to their own answer of like what's valuable to them. And then all you have to do once you know that is remind them of why they joined the business, and just ask them. Now you can ask the new question like, hey, has something changed? Because before you said you wanted the business for this, but you're not performing or you're not committing to it like you said you wanted to. So has something changed?
Yeah. And hey, give it your best shot. And you can always go back to like the whiny, snivelly, complainy way that you used to live your life, and, get on with it.
There is that.
Hey, I have another quick question. As far as Transform 30 goes, so when I came into the business, Transform 30 was just about to be launched. It hadn't been around, and I had been on Juice Plus for 6 years. So I just was taking the capsules because it made sense to me. So with Transform 30, I mean, I love it. I love the program. I utilize it for my customers, but a lot of new reps coming on board that I have are nervous to get in that kind of sense of a possible, weight loss, even though we don't talk about it as necessarily a full-on weight loss. That's what people want. They want, most people do want to lose weight, and a lot of people have a lot of weight to lose. So, but if they aren't successful with it, then they're scared they're going to completely come off of all Juice Plus products because they think that it's not working, even though, like you and I know, that just getting it in their system, whether they made the lifestyle changes or not, is still a win. How are you kind of, you still here? How are you kind of working with that? Okay.
Well, I mean, personally, I like, this goes back to patents. Like, I can't really see somebody doing a 10-day shred in my life. Like, I could offer it as like, well, we have a program that fits anyone's lifestyle. Do you want to try it for 10 days? Like, I can make that work for you. But when it, and here again, it kind of, it's about your health. I'm upfront with people. I'm like, if you want to look and feel better for 90% of the people that you're going to talk to, that's going to include weight loss. I'm not about weight loss, but let's face it, most people have, 10, 15 pounds, if not 30 or 40 pounds that they could lose. And I'm not going to, the weight loss is just a side effect of me helping you get healthy. And it's different for everybody, so it's a little, you have to take the time, ask questions. You just kind of, like, if I told you that, this program was going to help you build lean muscle, help, and I'm not talking about like necessarily going to the gym, but it's going to help your organ function, cells, healthy cells build healthy tissue, and healthy tissue build healthy organs, and healthy organs make you feel and look good. So if I was going to tell you that, and you're 30 or 40 years old, and that like you've been partying too much, or when you looked at Transform 30, or when you watched Forks Over Knives, you were like horrified at the education that you got and realized, oh my God, like I'm not doing it right. I'm just kind of like, the product comes in a 4-month supply because that's a minimum for you to actually, like, we know that if you do everything, if you want to take on a 30-day program, we know that in 30 days, the more you do, including the Juice Plus program, you're going to get a result. I mean, you could just stop, if you just stop eating dairy and gluten, you're going to feel better. But the problem is you haven't figured out how to jam enough fruit and veg nutrition into your diet so that while you're not polluting your body with bad foods, what are you doing to supercharge your cells with good food? And that's where Juice Plus. It's like not everyone can become like the ideal plant eater overnight, but Juice Plus, it's like bringing a gun to a knife fight. It allows anybody to get more fruit and vegetable nutrition into their diet. So I know that I can produce a result for you that's healthier. What that looks like for you in terms of scale weight and what you think that looks like, nobody really knows, except if you eat well and you have healthy lifestyles, that's the genetics that you were given, and you're going to end up right where you should be. And I'm a big fan of like if you've been living that way for a minimum 5 years, what's 1 year of your life, investing in your health and well-being to kind of just give yourself, the change of seasons. I mean, for me, people say, oh, well, I'll try it for 4 months. I say, that's great. And I'm going to encourage you to commit to a year. And this is why, because for me personally, the only thing, and I didn't think, when I started eating Juice Plus, I'm like, I have an ego. I'm an amateur athlete. This just makes good for a long-term, this is health insurance for me. It's not going to make me jump over tall buildings in a single bound or run faster, but it just sounds like a good long-term strategy, better than eating a vitamin. Well, I've had allergies my whole life, and it wasn't until I started eating Juice Plus in September, and it wasn't until the following September that all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I was having a little bit of an allergy issue, and I realized, oh my gosh, I went through the spring and summer without any allergy medication. What the heck? That kind of ran my life. I would have to leave public places if I had if I got whatever, pollen, I don't know what it was, but it was usually with the environment. So that's my own personal thing. And that's what I use to encourage people, the more honest you are with yourself, and the longer the time frame you give yourself for this program to prove to you that the science is real and I'm not bullshitting you, it's up to you. You have to decide what's worth it to you, and you don't have to be perfect. Juice Plus gives you the products give you more leverage than you can ever find in your daily diet. I guarantee you that, because unless you're a vegan or a plant eater, you're not eating 45 plants every single day. And one other thing that I'll share, my buddy Mark Schwann, who's going to be on he's going to be on our athlete panel for the Seattle Summit. He's a huge fan of the Complete. He's a lot of the people, they're kind of the price point, they balk at the price point. You can do the program at no cost, but what are you going to do to get more fruit and veg in your diet? So he's a big fan of getting people hooked on the shake. And then once he gets them hooked on the shake, then he says, hey, the real deal is the capsule, So it's, you just have to kind of find what's true for you and what works for you. And then if you ask enough questions, I think people will kind of tell you exactly what, I'm looking for a 10-day shred. And it's kind of well, will you place an order for a 4-month supply, or, what's the commitment? Because 10 days, that's like a teaser. And what the 10-day shred is about is, 1 weekend a month, spend 7 to 10 days, getting yourself healthy. And then you can go back to partying for the rest of the time, but don't ever stop eating Juice Plus, because while you're partying away, Juice Plus is the secret weapon that you may or may that I know it's working, but it may take you a while before you figure out that, hey, if I even just Juice Plus alone makes a difference. So but I think in the end, asking questions and finding out what is your commitment to health. You invest money in the stock market, you invest money in your car, you invest money in your kids' education. What about your own health? Because I'm just, it's like this lady, she's 40 years old, and I guarantee that whatever this health crisis that she's having that I spoke about earlier, she's never going to come back the same. And she's got 2 young kids. And I'm not here to be the Grim Reaper, but dang, I wish you would have listened to me 6 months ago and gotten on Juice Plus for you and your kids. because now it's like, it's not even in the conversation. You're too busy listening to your doctors and taking drugs. So,
it's interesting, Doug, because I love hearing you every time. And one thing I notice when I watch you and sort of hear you with this business is like, you have bought into the product, and you have, like, you just carry yourself with confidence. And I think if people look back at this, I think it's recorded, right? If people look back at this and they sort of like take that into their perspective of like, hey, this is the type of confidence that if I bring it to my presentations, like, it's going to be what feeds my business. I think that's something we can all take away from this. It's, something I sort of observed.
No, and I appreciate that. I mean, and no matter how good I am at like my conviction, it's like, it doesn't work for everybody. I'm still the, like, I got to talk to 4 people to get one to say yes, especially if I don't know them. I mean, and I don't select. I'm just like, I talk to anybody. Maybe I should be a better sorter, but they sort themselves in the end. So.
Awesome. Well, Doug, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us. I know it was a little bit longer than we anticipated, but man, we love hearing you talk. You have so much to share with us. And it's funny because I was talking to Christy over Messenger, and I was like, he's saying some of the same things that we say to our team, but it's so neat to hear it from somebody different to solidify the fact that, this business, what we have is not rocket science. It's fruits and vegetables. But if you have the confidence, and I always tell my team, if you have belief in your product, belief in yourself, or a belief in the business and belief in yourself, you can be a very successful person. And so thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. You are such a shining example, hence, Team Shining Star. I didn't really mean the pun, honestly, but you're a shining example of what this business can do. And so with that, Christy, if you want to stop the recording, if anybody wants to